solve this quadratic equation. Now, we're looking for the x values that if you plug them in, they would make the equation equal 0, or where the parabola crosses the x-axis. So, I could try to factor this one. It looks pretty reasonable, but when I try this, I have x times x, which is x squared, and the only thing that multiplies the 2 is 2 times 1. Now, they both have to be positive, so if I did 2 plus 1, that'd be 3. Or if I made them both negative, that'd be negative 2 and negative 1, that'd make negative 3. Any of those combos with 1 and 2 never add up to negative 1, even if I try to change the signs. Remember, 1 can't be negative and the other be positive because it has to multiply to a positive 2. So I'm not having any luck factoring. I could try the quadratic formula, but what I want you to look at, and if you did try the quadratic formula, you would get, actually let me show you that real fast here. You'd have x equals opposite b, so 1, plus or minus the square root of b squared. Well, negative 1 times negative 1 is 1, minus 4 times a times c, all over 2a. If I look right here, this discriminant, as it's called, and you've seen in your notes, this right here, so I'm going to change the color, is our discriminant. It gives us a little insight as to what this parabola is doing, where it's crossing, if it's crossing. So this would come out to 1 minus 8. Well, the square root of 1 minus 8 is the square root of negative 7. We cannot square root a negative number. Something times itself never makes a negative. It's always negative times negative or positive times positive. So this would mean no solution. And that's what we stopped with when it was Math 2. But what this means is that it does not cross the x-axis. So we would say there is no solution. I'm sorry, can't spell. No solution in Math 2. Now we could put 1 plus or minus, so we could go I square root of 7 over 2. Now, for most people, using an imaginary number, which we just introduced in this chapter, doesn't make a lot of sense. But what that means is this I accommodates for the negative under the square root. The square root of negative 1 is I, so we could pull that out. Now that still makes it gross and decimally. What does it mean graphically? If we were to graph this, this parabola does not cross the x-axis. That is why no solution makes sense, and it did in Math 2. In Math 3, we introduced you to complex numbers. It has a complex solution. Basically, mathematicians, if we don't have a number that is an answer, we try to make one up. Just kidding. So this I is representing that negative. It comes outside, and we leave the square root of 7. Therefore, we can say it still has no x-intercepts, but there is no solution to this unless you want to consider this imaginary solution, which in Math 3 we do.